So this is the light sledgehammer today. One of those things I want to point out when you're doing sledgehammer levering, and this is super light, 6 or 8 pounds. I've done 10-pound hammers consistently. Never heavier than that, not fully, not that I know of. Doing this is an extension of the wrist. That's only one movement pattern. And now, choked up generally, and going partial hammer, arm down at the side, that is still extension of the wrist. So what you do, flip the hammer around. There's one option, flexing the wrist with the arm at the side. But then, a fun one that I've never actually seen someone do this before. I'm sure it's been done, but in my eyes, I came up with this a long time ago, about a decade back when I first started using this sledgehammer, trying to lever it. And I do remember at 19, 20 years old, that at the start, I could only lever it from about here, but pretty regularly one fall and winter. And it was only a couple months, it wasn't even a few months, I got to where I could do that quite consistently. And you have two positions for that, from the front and from the side. And you can make it a third position, go 45 degrees. But that doesn't seem to be the standard. Got a lot of reps. Eventually I got to a lot of reps with this hammer, particularly with my right hand on levering it from the full length for AM reps. I don't remember if it was 20, but it was in that vicinity. A lot of reps. What I've seen people write about doing online before, and I've never done, it's one of those, I want to try it and I never remember to, is go to the hardware store and get a clamp. You clamp plates high up on the handle, and then work high reps with the full length of the sledge. And I might go see what I could get for a clamp to do that, so that I can have a weight lighter than the 20-pound head and work for some higher reps to build up to that 20-pound head, which I can get about halfway down and back up, or do a full lever with my hand choked up around halfway on the 20-pound hammer. What I was saying that I've not, to my knowledge, seen people do to train the extension as well as the flexion, or the flexion as well as the extension. Hold the arm like a normal lever. You're going to want to be choked up, but instead of levering back, lever forward and back. And something I've been doing off camera lately is doing the whole range of motion, front to back, with this light hammer. And now, getting a lot of range of motion with the wrist like this. But what's also cool is, what is this position? That's a front raise. That's a front raise isometric hold. You're getting some shoulder strength and a lot of shoulder endurance by holding this, and getting strong wrists and a strong hand. It's a 2-for-1. And also, about a decade back, when I was training to lever this hammer, I realized there was a really fun thing I could do to get a pump. You've all seen that famous scene in Conan the Barbarian where Arnold wins the sword. We're in the modern world. Most of us don't have a big, heavy sword, but we can get a sledgehammer pretty easily. Just wield it as if you were swinging a sword. My initial idea, to really watch that scene and copy it. And here, you're training all those capacities of the wrist, the shoulder, getting some upper back. This actually fires the upper back very, very hard. And it'd be interesting if you know the way to do the math to figure out how much harder it is to wield a sledgehammer like a sword than a sword, where the balance would be at the hilt, like yay high, versus all the weight being at the end of the hammer, up there. That's something you can do too. You can add velocity, and catch it, put the brakes on, reverse it. Even do that isometric, like swords at a wedding. But just have fun with it. Can't really quantify what you're doing so much. Can't do the math like you can on a barbell. But this is how men working labor jobs yesteryear got very, very strong without the modern gym. This is something I've noticed before. People think there's a much more wow factor to levering an axe head versus a hammerhead. But what people who've never done levering before don't realize is that axe heads, I hope you can clearly see that, come in much, much lighter heads than sledgehammers. This axe is only 3.5. Most axes are going to be like that, only 3.5, 4 pounds. Whereas a hammerhead, you're going to be using a 6 or an 8 or a 10. Easy as pie, because it's only a fraction of the weight. Just looks scarier. See you tomorrow.